working for 40 and 40 years.
Yes.
Don't they have anything for them?
How much money do you get for 1 month?
1 month, only 1,000 and pounds.
1,000. Is it pounds?
£6 and pounds.
$150.
$100 is not enough here for life.
What about the government and the SCAF, the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces? Do you believe they will help you or not? No. You don't-
We are here, no one can help me, but we are here for healthcare.
The police in revolt. Nothing better sums up the economic chaos of Egypt after the revolution. Aswan, 1,000 kilometers south of Cairo, where life unfolds at a very different pace, dictated by the grace and beauty of the Nile. But even here, a chill economic wind is blowing. Tourism, Egypt's biggest earner of foreign exchange, has been hard hit since the revolution. Numbers are down by more than a third, and cruise boats tied up. In the long run, the revolution may be remaking Egypt, but in the short run, it has been extraordinarily bad for the tourism business. Political upheaval, tension, and street violence have kept many visitors and their wallets away from the country. And here in Upper Egypt, on the Nile, amid all of the wonderful ancient antiquities, those visitors are being sorely missed. Philae Temple is an extraordinary monument to ancient Egyptian artistry. These days, you don't have to endure heaving crowds to see it.
We found out that the Egyptians were possibly the first in history that tried to explore the Nile.
The tour guides are still here, their stories are still compelling, but the audiences are smaller. How would you describe the last year, thinking particularly of the months since the revolution, in terms of the business, in terms of turnover and tourists? How has it been since the revolution?
Difficult. Very difficult. Very difficult. It's an intermediate period. So things are not very stable yet. I mean, it started to get better for a while, but then it has its own ups and downs. I mean, like, you would expect that for a while. Just hope that it would be better.
Is it because there's such a sense of uncertainty?
People usually go to the place where they feel safe. I mean, you would never take your kids and go somewhere where you would not feel safe, or someone tells you that it's not going to be safe there. Media focus on Egypt, so whatever happens here shows within minutes around the world. That affects the decisions of people to come to Egypt. I hope that would change later on.
And of course, when tourist numbers are down, it has a huge impact, not just on particular sites like this, but on the wider economy. Just tell me how far the impact spreads.
Well, let's take it step by step. The first time any tourist thinks of visiting a country like Egypt, he makes his booking, that money goes direct to the company. But then when he comes in, he takes taxis, he buys from shops, he goes to restaurants. That direct money goes from his pocket to these people that he meets every day or every other day.
What do you want from the next generation of Egyptian leaders?
Some people that feel the pain of the people, know that at least 40% of the Egyptians live under the poverty line, know that there are a lot of problems in the medical field, in the educational field.
You've been through tough times in your business, in your city, and there is still a real sense of uncertainty in this country. Are you optimistic?
Very. But there's no 100% trust anymore. You cannot get that. You cannot give your whole credit to someone. No.
The Mubarak dynasty ran Egypt as a family business. Swiss banks have frozen hundreds of millions of dollars in Mubarak accounts. They embraced capitalism, but on their terms. And now the cracks are beginning to show. There is wealth in Egypt, but it hasn't spread.
the old economic order looks increasingly unsustainable. And now, when one of the country's richest men, Naguib Sawiris, whose family founded the Orascom conglomerate, looks out of his 26th floor suite, he sees a city again convulsed by political violence and a future shrouded in uncertainty. Naguib Sawiris, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you.
Does Egypt need an economic revolution?
Yes, but we are now on standstill. I mean, you can't have an economic revolution when you don't have a government that is sustainable or that is here to stay. We're waiting for the elections to choose a real solid government. And therefore, how can you have another revolution economically if you don't have a government to supervise or share in this revolution?
So you're suggesting that for the 10 months since the revolution in January, February, Egypt has been in limbo, no economic leadership.
Exactly, and it's very difficult for anybody to achieve anything. So nobody is really taking a decision or signing anything he should sign, because he's very worried that it will be misunderstood. So we suffered in Egypt all the time from bureaucracy, civil servants not wanting to issue the permits or sign for justified approvals. Post the revolution, they are now panicking completely, so nothing is being done. Number one. If you talk economy, you talk investment. Now, who's going to come and invest in a country that has a temporary government that is very weak and very scared to sign, has actually reneged on many of its investment promises to investors who came in good faith?
You raise a very interesting issue. It seems across the country a groundswell of support for the idea of reversing some of the economic liberalization policies we saw in the years of the Mubarak regime, because people believe that those liberalization policies were in effect a form of crony capitalism. The Mubarak and his family were simply helping their friends, and they want to see those policies undone. That's fair enough, isn't it?
No, because it's a false accusation. The system, Egypt has adapted the free economical pattern. We have adapted an investment, let's say, an active. We saw an active role for investments to come. We provided the environment for these investments to come and work, generate jobs.
Yeah, but it wasn't free, though, was it? It was based upon corruption. We now know that kickbacks, sweeteners, corrupt deals were a part of Mubarak.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Well, how else could you explain that, as we now know from Swiss banks, there are hundreds and hundreds of millions of US dollars in the bank accounts of the Mubarak family? Somebody put them there. They were paying for something.
Yeah, okay. I can tell you that most of this is outside the privatization program.
Really?
Look, I mean, you're talking to someone who worked during this system, who knows the system, who invested. You know, my family, we are the largest economic group here. I am not here to defend the Mubaraks, but I can tell you that, and we are the largest economic group in this country, we have never been subjected to any pressure to make any payments to any of this family.
You never had to pay kickbacks or sweeteners to get permits or deals or licenses? Because you run the biggest telecommunications business in this country.
Let me explain something. First of all, we are industrialists, so most of our work has been built on building factories that were all new. We didn't participate in the privatization program, so we have bought nothing from the privatization program. We have built everything from scratch.
But you still need, sorry to interrupt, but you still need permits.
But it's on the lower level. It was never a political license or political supported event. So.
But in your plea for greater entrepreneurial spirit and for new investment, both overseas and domestic, how is that going to be delivered when your first point to me was that this economy is in limbo, there is no leadership, there is no strategy, and nobody knows where this economy is going? Why would anybody invest?
It's not going to happen, and this country will go bust in a few months. It's not going to happen, because who is going to invest when you don't have stability? You don't have a democratically elected government. The police is on strike, the lawyers are on strike, and the judges are on strike. So, I mean, you came to Egypt here in the most attractive time. I mean, because we are Egyptians, so we like to laugh on ourselves.
Well, you are smiling, but you have just said to me the most profoundly disturbing thing. You say this country is going bust, which means frankly,
Yes.
the revolution is going to go bust too, because if the economy goes down, all of the hopes and dreams of the Egyptian people are going to be so much
Because
better.
the revolution and the revolutionists and the people of Egypt should give Egypt a break. They should stop demonstrating, they should stop striking, they should stop requiring things, because the country right now cannot afford to give them anything.
With respect, Mr. Sawir, it is easy for you to sit here on the 26th floor of the finest office building in Cairo and tell me the people who have virtually nothing out there have to stop demanding a little bit more.
It's not the people who have nothing are demonstrating. I would have understand that. It's not lawyers, judges, engineers, doctors, people who work in factories. People from the Egyptian telephone company who are striking have the highest salaries within any semi-public sector company. That's what I'm talking about. If these poor people in the slums strike, this I understand. If they, you know, the nicest people of Egypt are the poorest. They have never envious. They don't complain. They take a lot of hardship. The ones who always want more is the ones who have. We need to give the country a break to survive.
Do you think survival is really at stake now? That there is a real possibility that this
I tell
country
you, yes,
could
because-
go under?
Because we didn't receive any of the promises of the aid. You know, this big 30 billion from the European Communion, that they will give 30 billion to Egypt and Tunisia. We've seen zilch from that, okay? The Arab countries who have spoke big time about helping Egypt, they haven't done that yet. And why? Because in my personal opinion, they don't want this revolution to succeed. Because if it succeeds, it's like a disease. It will...
I just wonder...
Anything we're in today is better than where we were. This is a great country, you know. Even if it goes bust, it will rise again. And we will get out of this. I am actually not upset with the government or with the army. I am upset with my people. I see, if we want to change this country, the people have to change. They cannot go out and work 3-4 hours a day and expect life to go better. They cannot go out and say we don't have any money, we cannot live, and then get 12 children as a family.
How long will it take to change the people?
5 years.
Naguib Sawiris, thank you very much for being on Hard Talk. Tahrir Square is once again full of defiance. The protesters' goal is to end military rule. Only then, they say, can the building of a new Egypt begin. But cruel market forces are at work here. Every day that Egypt is without economic vision and leadership is costing the country dear.